Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Regina Pats defenseman Matt Paran. Is it Paranych or Paranich?
Paranych.
Paranych. Matt
Yeah.
Paranich. Matt, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Well, my first question to open up this interview is just how have you been doing recently? The second half of the season's finally underway, and you guys are on a little bit of a heater right now.
Yeah, no, we're feeling good. There's been some rough spots, some good spots, but I think we're starting to gel more as a team, and that chemistry's starting to find us, and we're fully back from injuries, so we've been healthy for a little bit. So yeah, we've been feeling pretty good.
Well, just talk to me about that kind of those injury bugs that you've been going through this season. It really kind of dampers the chemistry on the ice, and obviously that affects the results too.
Yeah, 100%. No, there's been some guys that, kind of got some unlucky injuries, some reoccurring stuff, just some bad bounces, and it's always tough to see, guys go down and stuff. But yeah, no, we're back to full strength now, and yeah, we're feeling good as a team.
Well, I mean, you're feeling great after that 7-0 win against the Swift Current Broncos. What did you think about what helped set the tone early on in the game, and how did that momentum carry throughout the rest of the game?
Yeah, for sure. I think honestly the momentum started, last Friday when we played Red Deer. I think, we needed that win and we got it, and then we got a good win in Brandon, and we just carried that momentum throughout the week into Swift Current, and that we weren't going to get complacent. We weren't with two wins. We wanted to push for a third, and we started out the game. We started out strong. We stuck to our structure, and we trusted our coaches, and yeah, I think it was a great win for us as a team for sure.
Well, talking about the next game, it's against the Victoria Royals, and they are your this is the only time you're going to be playing them. So, how do you kind of go about preparing for a game like that when you don't get a second crack at a team?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a one and done situation. I think, it's a game we need. We're in that tight race in those playoff spot areas, and this is we can't take this game off just because we only play them, one time. That's a win we can get, and we don't play them again. So, this we got to make sure we get a good win, and be prepared coming into Saturday.
Well, getting into your story, was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Yeah, well, I guess there's a few. I've actually for a while it was Sidney Crosby. Me and my buddy Braden Coots, who had just played on the World Junior team, and our favorite player was Sidney Crosby growing up. So his favorite player was Crosby, and it kind of migrated into being my favorite player. And obviously the Drew Doughties, the Duncan Keiths, guys like that when I was younger, and now it's more of a Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Jared Spurgeon, Sam Gerard, players like that, that I kind of model my game after. So yeah,
Well, what about Gerard and Spurgeon kind of stand out for you? What qualities of their game do you like the most?
yeah, I think just being undersized, and having that skating ability, their anticipation is so good, and they can shut plays down really quick, and they have that quick offense. They can transition the puck really well and break the puck out when they need it, and they're needed in all situations all over the ice. They can penalty kill, they can power play, they can play 5-on-5. They play those big minutes, and yeah, that's kind of the things that I look at them and I'm like, I see a lot of myself in them, and I try to model my game after them. Yeah.
Who influenced you to get into hockey?
Well, I would say my parents probably. Started skating when I was 2 years old, and I started skating on just a little mini rink just behind our house. And my dad put me in a Montreal Canadiens jersey. I don't know if you're a Leafs fan or not from being from Ontario, but yeah, I just started skating when I was two, and got into hockey when I was four. And I played a little bit of soccer as well, and eventually had to make a decision. That hockey was going to be my full time sport, and yeah, I think my dad's really done well with me. I guess just always motivating me. Never being negative to me, and always being positive. And Yeah, I would say my dad and my mom for sure.
I'm a diehard Hab fan. I love the Habs. They're
Okay.
my go-to team.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of odd because you're from Edmonton. So, just like curiously, well, how come it was never the Oilers and always the Habs?
Yeah, I guess I mean it's kind of the Oilers and the Habs, I guess you could say. Like, I mean, my dad when he grew up, he was always a big Habs fan, and
True.
there's a lot of Habs fans from Edmonton, and there's a lot of Oilers fans too. And I think yeah, just kind of those two teams, just like kind of my dad, followed them growing up, and seeing them go to that Stanley Cup final was cool. And now watching, guys like Lane Hutson, Caden Gooley on that team. I actually know Caden Gooley a little bit. And yeah, so I don't know, just kind of grew up watching the Habs and the Oilers. So those are kind of the two teams I would cheer for the most, probably.
Well, it's the two last Canadian teams I shot for Lord Stanley, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So you got to pick one. You got to pick both if you can.
Yeah, 100%.
What about your relationship with Caden Gooley? Like that, he's such a special defenseman for the Habs there, plays such a physical game too, and he did so well with PA in the dub, especially with Edmonton there too.
Yeah, no, well, so he had actually played at the same academy that I played in U15, like what they call it now, and it was Bantam before, and he had played at OHA Edmonton. I had played at OHA Edmonton as well, and I actually had the chance to skate with him one summer, and he said, why don't you wear my number, this year? And this was going into my WHL draft year, and you know young me is looking at him like, oh, I'm going to wear his number for sure. And so he ended up actually holding the OHA Edmonton most points in a single season defense record. And I ended up beating his point record by 12 points, which was pretty cool. And just kind of, I don't know, just kind of a cool moment, I guess, him telling me to go wear his number and, I could beat his point record, which was pretty cool. But, yeah, he's definitely a great player, and he was always really good to me when I saw him.
Did you ever chirp him for like absolutely just demolishing like 12 points? That's a huge accomplishment there by to beat his record.
No, I think I actually texted him on Instagram. He never replied to me, but
Oh, he's gone Hollywood on you.
I think I texted him on Instagram and I said I beat your point record. So I don't know if he ever saw that, but yeah, that's I guess the only chirp I had to him.
Well, before getting drafted to the Medicine Hat Tigers, I wanted to talk about the Brick Invitational Tournament. This is going way back.
Yeah.
And I know it's been a while since you've kind of thought about it, but do you have any fun memories about that tournament?
Well, so I'm from Edmonton and I live about 5 minutes away from West Edmonton Mall. And so the night before the Brick started, um, me and my dad had went to go, kind of just see the rink. It's all set up with all the banners around and all the sponsors and the cameras are getting set up and people are setting it up. And me and my dad just kind of went and did some visualization. And there's a second cup in the mall, and I ended up just taking like a little coffee thing. You put it in your coffee or whatever. I don't know, like a straw or something just to kind of chew on or whatever. And I had ended up setting the mall alarm off. And a bunch of security guards were trying to look for me. And so, yeah, like I was getting chased around by security guards in the mall. And I'm a 10-year-old little kid. It scared me pretty bad. But yeah, so I guess that's something I kind of always remembered before the tournament even started. But it was,
Edmonton's most wanted.
yeah, I know. It's crazy.
And when you look back on that tournament, does it ever shock you just how big of a tournament the Brick is?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's so many players that come out of the tournament. I had actually skated at the mall a couple times this summer, and downstairs by the dressing rooms they have a wall full of all the players that have played in the tournaments, and you can see they have all the NHL players. They have a red line under their name, and it's just full of NHL players who had actually come through that tournament, and I guess guys that played in that. I don't know if Schaefer played in that tournament. Guys like Michael Misa, I think well, they won the tournament, the Bulldogs that year, and they played Gavin McKenna in the finals. And yeah, like you can just tell, like, so many great players come through that tournament, and it was a real fun experience for sure.
Well, looking at your roster, you had played with guys like Cale Dock, Ryan Miller, and Braden Coots. Have you kind of kept in contact with all of them?
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess, yeah, like Braden, he was one of my best buddies growing up. And when I had actually gotten drafted by the Tigers, I had ended up playing Saha, South Alberta Hockey Academy in
Yeah,
Midget, and Ryan Miller's from Medicine Hat. So I lived with the Millers. I
that's
lived at the house
crazy.
for that year. So they were billets. So I billeted with them, and no, they were a super welcoming family, and open their home to me, and I'm super grateful for that. And me and Ryan, we're still really really close to this day. Call him a brother to me, and yeah, so pretty cool for sure.
And they have all been drafted to the NHL. Does it surprise you at all with how their hockey careers have unfolded?
Yeah, hasn't surprised me at all. They've those guys have always been, some of the hardest working guys, all the way up. They're always in the gym, they're always shooting pucks, they're always doing something, and it's definitely paid off for them for sure.
Well, in 2022-23, you received the award for CSSHL U18 Top Defenseman. What does it mean to you to receive that honor?
Yeah, no, I think it means a lot for sure. It's sad we couldn't get it done in playoffs, but we ended up winning the Circle K that year, and overall it was a great year. I think I really took a big step that year, and obviously coming out of Bantam, moving away from home at 15, it's tough for sure, but playing guys with like Gav, Cade McCann, we had some really good goaltending. There's a Cade Duel, he's in Lethbridge now, and a bunch of great players on that team, and guys who even went on to play in the AJHL or the BCHL. It was such a tight knit group, and it was so fun to go to the rink every day and play. And you know we just wanted to get better that year, and I think we just wanted it more than a lot of teams. And we gelled well together, and played some pretty good hockey. And yeah, it was definitely an honor to get that award for sure.
What do you remember about getting drafted to the Medicine Hat Tigers in the third round?
Yeah, well, I didn't go to school that day. Was pretty nervous all that day, and yeah, it was super cool to get drafted by the Tigers, and we had pretty strong draft class that year with the Tigers. With Gav and Hayden Harsani, Caden McCann, Jack Kachikowski. We had a really solid draft class, and obviously with the year before with Thomas Mercick, Caden Lindstrom, guys like that, it was pretty strong, and we definitely were building something special there for sure. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
So you mentioned you didn't go to school. I know that a lot of other WHL and other junior players actually had to go to school, and they got drafted while in class. But what did you do to celebrate that moment, getting drafted?
Yeah, honestly, just with my mom and dad and sister, and we were just kind of at home. And then I went to school after I got drafted, just for the last little bit. But before I didn't go, and yeah, just kind of with family, and I think we went out for lunch that day. And yeah, it was definitely really cool for sure. Really really exciting moment. And you, as a kid, you dream of getting drafted in the WHL. I remember going to watch the Oil King games. Going to watch Sam or Reinhardt, whatever. What was his name? Right, Sam Reinhardt, was that his name, or Max Reinhardt? He was on
I
the.
believe either. I think it was might have been Max. I'm not entirely sure though.
I think it's Sam Reinhardt's brother.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
and then going to watch Jake Neighbors, guys like that. And yeah, it was super cool going to watch like Dylan Gunther as well. And
It's a full circle moment.
100% full circle moment. You dream of being there one day, and you work so hard, and to get that draft, my name put on that board, it was a super cool feeling for sure.
They wouldn't let you have the full day off school. You had to go for that last little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was my favorite class, was foods class, so I had to
Oh,
go.
that's light work then. That's a bird
Yeah,
class.
yeah, for sure.
Your first season with the Tigers, you scored 10 points in 56 games. What was the biggest adjustment you had to make to your game coming from junior A to the WHL?
Yeah, I think coming from midget to the WHL, it kind of it's a big difference. It's a lot bigger and faster and stronger, and especially being an undersized defenseman, I had to learn how to read plays a little differently. I had to learn how to defend well, and it's a lot harder to produce offense than guys think coming into the WHL. Where you're a midget, you can win games, 15-1 or things like that. There's not much of that in the WHL, and it's a super tight, fast checking league. And I think the biggest thing for me was just learning how to anticipate plays and shut plays down by using my feet and my skill and my stick, and jumping in the rush at the right times, making the right reads, knowing the time of the game. And yeah, I think that was the biggest thing, and just having the confidence too. Trying to build confidence in my game, and it's tough as a 16-year-old coming in for sure. And yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is kind of like also the mental side of the game too. I think that was a big thing, and yeah, just always using my speed. I'm not really gonna outmuscle a lot of guys, so I gotta use my footwork and my quickness to beat guys to battles.
Your first WHL game came against the Calgary Hitmen. Did you have many friends and family in that for that game?
Yeah, I had my dad, my mom. They came up for that game, so yeah, it was pretty cool to have the rookie lap in the Saddle Dome. That was a pretty cool game for sure. It's always pretty fun playing in those big rinks. Saddle Dome, Rogers, and Saskatoon's got a big rink too. And yeah, it's always cool playing in those rinks, especially for your first game. And it was a really cool experience for sure.
Well, another cool experience was the three playoff games you got to play in. What were those moments like for you?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely eye opening for sure. How much different playoffs are than the regular season. And we had played Red Deer that year, and Red Deer was a tough big team. They had a lot of size and grit, and so you had to be ready. As soon as the puck dropped, you had to be ready. And it was really cool getting those 3 games in. And unfortunately, we lost that year, but yeah, it was really cool for sure. It's definitely a lot more physical, a lot faster, and a lot more intense for sure.
Well, then last season you scored your first WHO goal against the Oil Kings. It must be really just funny to look at all these incredible achievements that you've done in front of your friends and family.
Yeah, for sure. No, scoring that goal was a pretty cool experience after kind of getting snake bit a little bit in my first year. I hit a lot of posts and stuff, got robbed a lot of times, but it was good to get that first one out of the way, especially in the first game of the season too. So it was pretty cool for sure.
How good did it feel to get the monkey off the back? Like you mentioned, they're hitting a lot of posts, getting robbed.
Yeah, no, it was really really a good feeling. It's just you put in so much hard work, and then you're not seeing things pay off, and you're like, oh, am I ever gonna score? Am I ever gonna score? And rethinking yourself and watching a lot of video, and yeah, seeing that one go in was big monkey off the back for sure. And yeah, it definitely helped me a lot for sure.
You've played with so many incredible players, Kale Dock, Braden Coots, Caden Lindstrom, and Gavin McKenna obviously come to mind. What are the biggest things that you take away from playing with players like McKenna and Lindstrom?
Yeah, for sure. I think, just being buddies with Gav and Lindy, just the way they prepare for games, and they don't get too serious, they just go out there and do it. And you'll ask them a question, you'll be like, "Oh, how did you do that?" And they're like, "Well, I don't even know. I'm just and so I think just the thing for them is like, they're not thinking too much. They're just going out and doing it. They're just every game, every shift, they're going their best, trying their best, and they're just going to push the pace and just going to do it. And I think that was the biggest thing for me was not overthinking. Just going to just do it every single shift. I think that's a big thing for them. They just want to do it. They want the puck, and yeah.
And then on the back end, you mentioned the Habs. Well, Bryce Pickford drafted to the Habs. You had a chance to kind of just be with him on the Tigers. What's the biggest thing you've noticed about his game and his development so far?
Yeah, for sure. I've also known Pix, my whole life too. We used to go to the old Brooks Bandits camps, and so he was always there. And he was always a good player when he was younger. And we had known each other through. I have a couple buddies in Wainwright, kind of where he lives, just around there. And yeah, just seeing how hard he works. He's one of the strongest guys I've ever met in my life. If you looked at him, you'd think he could be in a bodybuilding show. He's such a special player. He's a great leader, and he stands for something, and he believes in himself, and all the hard work he's done is paying off for sure. He never takes a day off, not even on Sundays. Every single day is a work day for him, and no, it's insane what he's doing this year. 32 goals already. Like that's unheard of. So it's really really cool to see him do that for sure.
And it's really incredible to see just the multi-goal games that Pickford has scored this year. He's completely tearing up the WHL. I didn't expect this out of him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, I expected it out of him. He's such a special guy, such a special player. Just seeing him work and work out and shoot pucks. He shoots like 500 pucks a day. He never takes a day off. You ever ask him like, "Are you ever tired?" And no, he's never tired. So he's a workhorse, and he loves putting in the work, and he loves scoring goals. I can see that. And he loves winning, and he's a winner for sure. And he's doing great. The multi-goal games, 3, 4 goals in a game. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just crazy. But his shot's so good. Goalies can't even see it. So, and that's all he works on. He works on his shot. He works on his strength, and it's super cool to see.
How did you find out about the trade to the Regina Pats?
Well, I had actually asked for the trade, and it was really really sad, having to go. And I think honestly, the thing for me was I just believed in myself, and I wanted a little more for myself, and I just wasn't willing to be out of the lineup and stuff like that, and just be scratched and things, and I just believed in myself a little more, and yeah, I ended up just asking for a trade and got traded to Regina and played every game the rest of the season, and I had a pretty good back half, I feel. And yeah, it was definitely really sad, seeing all those guys, how tight they were there. I had a lot of buddies on that team, and seeing them win, that was so great for them. And it's a super special culture there, and I'm super grateful for everything they did for me. And but went to Regina, and it was obviously tough. We had a kind of a rough second half, and with the losing and stuff. But I think we've made a lot of changes, and yeah, I think I've been doing pretty good.
Well, you finished last season with the Pats, 15 points in 37 games. What helped you click offensively, and did that help your confidence as you moved along?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just opportunity. I think I just wanted more opportunity in another place, and I just got those power play opportunities, and put up some numbers and some production, and I think my confidence rose a lot. And yeah, it was definitely good to see some production. And for being a smaller guy like me, I feel like I have to be kind of a producer a little bit, and I feel like it was really good for me.
In what ways have the Regina Pats helped develop your game?
Yeah, I think just having the trust in me, and as a player, and with we got some great coaching, and I think just working every day. The habits I learned in Medicine Hat to always work hard every day. Carried over into Regina with opportunity. And I think our coaches are doing really good. And we obviously have some really skilled players. I think we were the youngest team in the league last year, with an average age of only like 17 years old, which was crazy. But I think just getting a year older, and with opportunity, and good coaching as well.
This season, you have scored 26 points in 38 games and are on pace for a career year. How have you felt about your season so far?
Yeah, I think it's been good so far. I think I could score a little more goals. I think I have 5 now, which is okay. And I think I wanted to come in, and I wanted to produce. I think the biggest thing for me, this summer, was I knew what I was going to do. I just wanted to come in and do my best on offense, defense, just helping the team as best as I possibly can every single game, every single shift. And yeah, just trying to compete my hardest, and play my hardest. And I think it's been pretty good so far.
You mentioned last year you guys had a very, very young team, average age of 17, but this year you guys are fighting for a playoff spot. How would you define a successful season when the team is so young and you're going through the ebbs and flows of it?
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw it, when I came in at 15 years old with Medicine Hat, and just watching them, they played all the way till game 68 to make the playoffs. They played the Swift Current Broncos in game 68, and that was the clinching playoff spot, and they got the win. Just seeing how tight those guys were and how bought in everyone was, and I think that's something that we've been this year. Everyone's really been bought in, and our culture is really improving, and we're becoming tight as a team, and I think last year we had 50 players play for the Pats, and guys in and out, traded and stuff like that, which was tough to see. It's tough to see guys get traded. Been there for a year or two, and but the new guys came in, and we got tighter, and I think it's been paying off this year, just building that chemistry and the bot. I think just guys being bought in.
The future of this team is surrounded by Liam Pugh and Maddox Schultz. What can you tell me about their game and why people are so intrigued by them?
Yeah, I think they're such a good mix for each other. They both bring speed, skill, grit. They both got some size on them. Like Maddox, like his body it's unbelievable. At 15 years, I don't, yeah, he's 15 years old now, and he's got the body of an NHL player. He's NHL ready, and Liam, he's about 6'2", and he's got a beard almost, which is crazy at 15. I didn't grow facial hair till last year, so it's kind of crazy. But no, they're so skilled. They work hard and they want to win. They're competitive every practice, every game. They're competing for a spot and they're competing to get better. And I think having the two of them, it's going to be scary. You look at some some duos in the WHL, like you go back to the Winnipeg Ice days. With Benson, Savoy, Connor Geeky, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, watching them, with their chemistry and just such a good duo for each other.
How would you evaluate the team season so far?
Yeah, I think it's been great. Like they've been great so far, and I'm really excited to keep watching them and keep watching them grow every single game. And with more opportunity, they're just going to keep getting better and better.
The NCAA in junior hockey announced a major shift, allowing CHL players into the NCAA. When you heard that news, what were your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, definitely crazy for sure. I mean, I had the opportunity to go either the college route or the WHL route, and I chose the WHL, and yeah, definitely crazy rule change for sure, and definitely broadens the scheme of development for players after the WHL, and makes college hockey a lot better too, with CHL players going to play there, and it's a longer runway too now. It's you can go to the WHL and the NCAA, and then you can play pro. So it's definitely, I think it's a really good development plan for players, and you get to go play 4 years in the dub, have a great time, and then 4 years of college, and college is college, and it's super cool to see. You have those however many years to play, and I think it's really good for hockey and the game for sure.
And you don't have to make the decision at 15 years old whether you want to go one way or the other, right?
100%.
You're committed to Bowling Green State University. How come you decided to commit there?
Yeah, so kind of just talk started last summer, and it was actually cool. One of my dad's best friends played at Bowling Green, Brent Regan, and so my dad had actually been to Bowling Green quite a bit, and he had played in an alumni game, and so ever since I was young, I've always had a Bowling Green toque and a Bowling Green hoodie, and I'd always wear them. So it's kind of another full circle moment, kind of growing up watching Bowling Green a little bit, and no, it's a great school. They have a great coach in Dennis Williams, and they've got some great players, coming through the WHL. And no, I'm super excited to have an opportunity there, and it'll be great when I get there for sure. I'm super excited. I hear nothing but great things. It's a beautiful city, and the Madhouse on Mercer they call it. That's the arena, and so it seems really cool for sure.
And another big thing that you were kind of a part of was the Penticton V's coming from the BCHL to the WHL. I guess when you heard the rumors going on, when you heard that news, what did you think of another team joining the Dub?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely crazy. I haven't been in the league. I mean, the only team, yeah, that's come into the league is the V's, and they were such a good BCHL team. They had so many championships and so much history. It was almost it was almost time they come to the WHL, and no, they have a nice rink. In the CSSHL, we'd play playoffs at South Okanagan Event Center there, and it's a beautiful rink. And yeah, they deserve to be in the WHL 100%.
And they're doing such a fantastic job for their first year. I believe they're still leading the division. So, just continuing what they've already built upon in the BCHL.
100%. No, they have. It sounds like they have a great culture there, and I haven't heard too much about them, but it sounds like they have good coaching as well. And I think my dad knows the coach a little bit, and yeah, it's obviously it would be a really cool place to play, and in Penticton there, it's on the lake, so that'd be cool for sure.
Who has been the hardest team to go against this season?
Um, well, I think obviously the PA Raiders in Prince Albert's, it's always a tough. No matter what team they have, it's always tough going in and playing there, and obviously Medicine Hat, my former team, it's always tough playing in there. With Pickford and Woo, and they have, they're so deep and so well structured, and it's obviously hard playing in there. But I think the U.S. road trip too, like that was a real eye opening experience for me. I had actually gone on the U.S. road trip at 15 years old with the Tigers as the seventh defenseman, and I never ended up getting in a game. But last year I was supposed to go on the U.S. road trip, but with the trade, I missed both Medicine Hat and Regina's road trip. So I didn't get to go on one last year. So going on the U.S. trip, playing Everett, Portland, Team Tri Cities, and Spokane teams like that, those were tough rinks to play in too. They have great crowds, and I think we played in Everett on a Wednesday, and they had 8,000 people there.
Holy
Uh,
shit. That's a
yeah,
Wednesday. That's so tough of a crowd to draw for a midweek game.
100%. It was tough playing in there for sure, but definitely super fun playing in front of those crowds. And it obviously Edmonton, they're a really good team too. That's always a tough rink to play in, especially Rogers. It being so big, and they're always good at home. And yeah, I would say PA, the Medicine Hat, the Edmontons, those are always tough teams to play against.
How about the hardest player to defend in the WHL and why?
Oh, that is a broad question. I would say as a forward, I would say, um, to be honest, I would say Brandon. I would say Jacobson, Mistelbacher, Ballmuller. That line is always hard to play against,
They're
and
clicking.
yeah, they're always clicking. They're always scoring. 5, 6, 8 goals a game. It's always tough. They're really skilled, and especially playing in Brandon too. That's another tough rink to play in, and they're always good there. And I would say for a defenseman, obviously, Christensen or Pickford or Woo, players like that. They're so skilled. They have the puck on their stick all game, and yeah, I would say players like that, even, like Coots, Gorzinski, Oring on PA, those are tough. Or Yeko and Hodnet, Sachin on the Oil Kings, those are real tough too.
Well, as we're closing off this interview here, do you have any advice for younger hockey players?
Yeah, I would say just, it's just, you got to work every day. You got to love the game, and you got to want to be a player, and you got to want it. And if you lose love for the game, then there's no point in trying. You always gotta just try your best, and keep your confidence. You got to believe in yourself. You got to stand for something, or you stand for nothing. You always gotta. I think the biggest thing for me, being a smaller guy, was just proving people wrong. Always believing in myself. No matter if someone said, you're too small or you're too weak. You just keep working and you prove people wrong, and you just you keep working, you keep playing. You never know when your last day is going to be, and you just keep playing. There is no tomorrow, and yeah, I think, but yeah, just believe in yourself and work hard every single day and stand for something.
Well, I'd like to thank again Matt Paranych for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Matt.
All right, thank you very much.